for 13 years. One of the most powerful voices in Jamaican music was locked behind prison walls. They said his career was finished. They said the music would stop. Instead, he became bigger. This is not a redemption story. This is not a love story. This is the rise, the fall, and the rebirth of Vybz Kartel. Born at Victoria Jubilee Hospital in Kingston, Jamaica, on January 7, 1976. One of 6 children, Vybz Kartel's story begins long before the spotlight. It begins in a Jamaica where music was not just entertainment. It was survival. Adidja attended Calabar High School in Kingston but was expelled as a teenager. Determined to continue his education, he completed his studies at a tutorial technical school. Though his roots trace back to the Waterhouse community in Kingston, a neighborhood known for both its cultural impact and its hardships, Adidja was primarily raised in the Waterford community of Portmore. Portmore in the late 1970s and 1980s was growing fast. Concrete communities, crowded yards, and sound systems echoing through the streets after dark. It was here that young Adidja came of age. Observing, listening, absorbing. Music entered his life early. Not through formal lessons, but through family. 2 of his uncles, aspiring musicians, became his first real influences. Every weekend, they gathered around an old component sound system. And through those speakers came a world of sound. Sam Cooke, country ballads, classic soul, and dancehall. For a young boy growing up in Portmore, this wasn't just music. It was education. By the age of 10, Adidja already had heroes. And they came from everywhere. Ninja Man, Papa San, Charlie Chaplin, but also Will Smith and KRS-One. Dancehall, hip-hop, storytelling in rhythm. He didn't just listen. He studied. Friends would later recall how he memorized lyrics word for word, performing them back flawlessly, testing his delivery, sharpening his presence. By age 11, he began writing his own lyrics. And at just 12 years old, he recorded his first song. The track was titled Love Fat Woman for Alvin Reed's One Heart label. He recorded it under the name Addy Banton, a tribute to Buju Banton, one of dancehall's most dominant voices at the time. But even then, this was not imitation. It was preparation. As a teenager, Adidja threw himself into every opportunity to perform. One stage mattered more than most: the Gong talent show at Coney Amusement Park. For many young Jamaican artists, the Gong was brutal. You impressed the crowd, or you were literally gonged off the stage. Adidja was gonged more than once. Not because he lacked talent, but because of his age. He was young, small, still finding his voice. But what mattered was this: he kept coming back. Each rejection hardened him. Each failure sharpened his resolve. By the early 1990s, he entered the studio seriously under the name Addy Banton. The homage to Buju Banton remained, but the voice was changing. The lyrics grew bolder, the confidence sharper. In 1996, before becoming a global solo star, Adidja Palmer formed a trio called Vybz Kartel with two close friends from his community.
He's not the lane, and the gun, and the size, and the clip, and the hollow, to the deep, and the body, for your ship, and the top, for your toe, in case you never know. On top, sit down, and then go call your John Doe. Ready? Shoot jet, the beats, afro, cornbread, kill low, we now, aim low. If you name John Doe, then you're that name, kill low. Stand every tongue, now run the service, don't play with me.
The trio consisted of Adidja, then known as Addy Banton, a singer named Escobar, and another friend known as Mr. Lee. Palmer came up with the name after watching a movie about the Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar and his cartel. The group was short-lived and dissolved quickly because of a lack of professional progress. When the group was eventually disbanded, Adidja decided to keep the name for his solo career. He also kept the hunger. His name was now Vybz Kartel. By 1998, Vybz Kartel was no longer just a hungry youth with lyrics in a notebook. He was building a name. Stage by stage. Crowd by crowd. In Portmore, his home turf, Kartel became a familiar presence at live events including showcases like Champions in Action. These were glamorous stages, with major endorsements, national spotlight. Hence, they mattered. Because in dancehall, reputation is currency. And Kartel was earning his, line by line, performance by performance. Then came the turning point. In the late 1990s, Kartel was introduced to one of the most powerful figures in dancehall, Bounty Killer. The introduction was made by an associate named Rohan Butler, a connection that would change everything. Rohan Butler would go on to become Kartel's first ever manager. But at that moment, he was a bridge between raw potential and real power. Bounty Killer saw something in Kartel. Not polished, but danger. Lyricism that cut sharp. Ideas that pushed boundaries. And so, Bounty took him under his wing, as a protege.
Anyway, me always have to introduce somebody. Vybz Kartel, come on. Because Vybz Kartel is the next artist that I bring on the scene. You know, see me as a man, me always take a lot to start up. Vybz Kartel. Boy, give them the big show for 6 and up to the time, and I'm going to sit down all of the man of the country now, you're right. Yeah, hear me? Let me sit down all of the people that must have for the 2001 a new government. When you run the country, blinds can't get the medal. Enough people dying to go film funeral. Could I never the one they name Governor General? I could do PG because the boy don't know no girl. I think to run the country and not to run the country. Skip not when I go vote before quick. This is the only one that matches here man organize and rap the city. Pull it low. Me feel like the fuck up 3 soldiers and 2 guards. When me remember how them kill Jim and Clady.
What followed was an apprenticeship unlike any other. Behind the scenes, Kartel became a machine. A ghostwriter, quietly shaping the sound of an entire movement. During this era, he penned nearly 30 songs for Bounty Killer alone. Among them, the hit, Gal Clown. But his pen didn't stop there. Kartel also wrote material for Elephant Man and for members of the Scare Them crew. The Alliance, a collective that defined late 90s dancehall, was being fueled by his words. And yet, his name was rarely on the marquee. This was the paradox of Kartel's rise. Invisible, but indispensable. Writing for artists louder than himself. More established. More feared. But every verse sharpened his instincts. Every rhythm taught him control. By the end of the decade, something shifted. Kartel began stepping out of the shadows. The ghostwriter was becoming a presence, a voice. He successfully transitioned from behind-the-scenes lyricist to a rising star in his own right. His style stood out. Gritty street narratives, delivered with precision. Sexually explicit anthems. Bold. Unapologetic. Lyrics that provoked reaction. Both admiration and outrage. Kartel understood something crucial. In dancehall, attention is power. And controversy is amplification. By the close of the 1990s, Vybz Kartel was no longer just Bounty Killer's secret weapon. He was emerging as a force. One capable of redefining the genre from within. The Apprentice was evolving. And soon, the student would challenge the system that created him.
Big man thing, that's why I say big man, a big man, child is a child. Girl want a man, people a child and a child. Chip up on.
By the early 2000s, everything accelerated. Under the mentorship of Bounty Killer, one of dancehall's most feared lyricists and kingmakers, Vybz Kartel found both guidance and a proving ground. This wasn't just about recording songs anymore. It was about dominance. And Kartel wasn't just chasing hits. He was rewriting dancehall's rules. From Portmore to Kingston. From talent shows to studio clashes. The boy who once studied lyrics in silence was becoming a voice no one could ignore. This was only the beginning, because the same hunger that fueled his rise would soon place him at the center of a storm that would divide Jamaica and captivate the world.
Monday, my brother start training with you seeing, you know. And him have a new, that's why Nike did link him before, because they're running shoes, so them have a new spikes named Gully Nike. So look out for it. See? You know what I mean? Get expelled from Calabar, finish education at Tutorial College, where the kids them and the fans of Kartel for know say right now education are the key, as we always been hearing. But anyway, we grew up in Waterford, you know what I mean?
Alright, why were you expelled from Kartel?
No, well, it's just attendance and really behavioral pattern. It's not really like academically speaking, you know what I mean? Because
behavior?
Yeah.
You used to get trouble?
Not really trouble, you know, we're a person who question everything still, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
you were asking too many questions?
Yeah, we just have
unjustified questions?
No, not unjustified, but maybe the manner, the delivery of the question, you know what I mean?
Okay.
straight, but an attendance still, because Kartel always I go through from high school days, you know what I mean? Going through the school uniform and thing, but just hanging around, because we wasn't really paid much attention at that time, but just catching a vibe and looking at the other artists. Even the said Bounty Killer from them time, they see me? Yeah, and just know say, yeah, Bounty Killer that and Harry Tattler that and, you know what I mean? Artists that were hot at the time, you know what I mean?
By the early 2000s, Vybz Kartel had emerged as one of dancehall's most compelling new voices. A lyricist celebrated for sharp wordplay, melodic instinct, and an unapologetic willingness to confront Jamaica's social realities head-on. He wasn't chasing approval. He was chasing truth, as he saw it. In 2002, Kartel officially broke away as a solo artist. The streets responded immediately. Songs like Guns Like Mine, Bad Man, and Most High spread from sound systems to street corners to taxi radios across the island. Alongside his solo output, Kartel formed a powerful creative partnership with dancehall singer Wayne Marshall. Together, they delivered hits like New Millennium on the Mad Ants rhythm, Why on the Crazy rhythm, and Why Again on the Good to Go rhythm. Their video for New Millennium Why, low budget but effective, found its way onto MTV. The underground was breaking through. That year, he was crowned DJ of the Year at Stone Love Sound System's 30th anniversary. A feat unmatched by any new artist in dancehall history. By 2003, he held the second best year in singles sales on the reggae charts. Outsold only by Elephant Man, he released 2 albums that year under the UK label Greensleeves. Featured twice on the Def Jamaica project and nominated for Source, Vibe, and UK Mobo Awards. It was confirmation. Vybz Kartel had arrived, inside dancehalls in a circle. Momentum only accelerated. He was being spoken of as the future of dancehall. But success came with attention. And attention came with consequence. His Mobo nominations, alongside Beanie Man, Elephant Man, and Sizzler, were withdrawn, citing concerns over homophobia, a controversy long tied to dancehall culture. The debate followed him. Still, his underground following exploded. A bootleg film, described by Kartel himself as very, very low budget, began circulating. Mixtapes, albums, an endless stream of singles. This was no longer fandom. It was loyalty. His rise reached a flashpoint at Sting, Jamaica's most infamous Clash stage. At Sting, rivalry was tradition. But chaos was always close. A pre-planned clash with veteran DJ, Ninja Man, spiraled out of control. What unfolded shocked the dancehall world.
That one that name kill the all again. Kill Gandhi and tell the fool go play ball again. Shoot Ninja Man when you do like the coke all again. When you now call him out. Say Ninja!
The violence was condemned, but the message was clear. Kartel had crossed a line, and in doing so, cemented his bad man persona. Mid-performance, members of Kartel's entourage assaulted Ninja Man on stage. Chaos followed. Multiple arrests, a shaken festival, and questions about the future of Sting itself. But controversy didn't slow him down. It amplified the signal. Kartel wasn't chasing respectability. He was chasing truth, as he saw it. Days later, he appeared at a press conference, issuing a public apology and announcing a truce. But for critics already unsettled by gun talk and explicit language, the damage was done. Kartel was no longer just controversial. He was now seen as dangerous. Yet, despite the backlash, the music didn't slow. In 2004, Kartel released More Up to the Time. The title said it all. He was doubling down, refining his sound, tightening his dominance. In 2005, Kartel released JMT. But the music now shared the spotlight with conflict. In 2005, cracks began to show. Kartel and Bounty Killer fell out after Kartel performed Ya Know Ya Baby Fada with D'Angel, Bounty Killer's former partner. Kartel walked out of the alliance. Idonia followed, taking Kartel's side, sparking fallout with Busy Signal and the release of Addy Amidadi. Allegiances shifted. Tensions deepened. And in a dramatic turn, he aligned himself with one of Bounty's fiercest rivals, Beenie Man. What followed was one of the most gripping rivalries in modern dancehall history. Kartel turned his lyrical fire toward Mavado, Bounty Killer's rising protege. Diss tracks came fast. And then, faster. Radio, sound systems, newspapers, all consumed by the clash. Within weeks, Jamaican media and fans were completely transfixed. Dancehall was no longer just sound. It was spectacle, strategy, and war fought with words. At the center of it all stood Vybz Kartel, fully aware that controversy, when mastered, could be as powerful as any hit song. He understood the moment, the attention, the outrage, the loyalty. He wasn't just reacting to the culture. He was controlling it. By the mid-2000s, Vybz Kartel had become more than an artist. He was a lightning rod, a headline, a force. And the battles ahead would push dancehall to places it had never been before. This was only the beginning. What started as lyrics became something far more dangerous. And soon, the music wasn't just being heard. It was being lived. In the late 2000s, dancehall stopped being just music. It became a battleground. Kartel versus Mavado. Gaza versus Gully. By this point, Vybz Kartel was no longer operating alone. He had taken control of a local group originally founded by David Bratt. After Dava was ousted due to legal issues, Kartel stepped in and drew a line. Only artists signed to a DJHM Records would be recognized as official members. This was the birth of the Portmore Empire, also known as the Gaza Nation, rooted in Waterford. More than a crew, it was an identity. Kartel began recruiting talent, young, hungry, fearless. Popcorn discovered at a local jam in 2007. Black Rhino, Sean Storm, Jar Vinci. For many, Gaza wasn't just music. It was opportunity. Across Kingston, another force was rising. Mavado, representing Gully, rooted in cassava peace. What began as lyrical competition quickly hardened into rivalry, then into obsession. The war moved fast. Kartel mocked Mavado's background. At one stage show, he brought out a coffin with Mavado's name on it. A shocking visual. Mavado responded in kind, targeting Kartel's personal choices, including his skin bleaching. This was no longer metaphor. This was direct. Youth across Jamaica began choosing sides. Not just musically, but socially. Gaza or Gully. The feud spilled off stages and into communities. Music had become identity. In 2008, everything came to a head. Sting. Kartel and Mavado met face to face, on dancehall's most dangerous stage. The clash was legendary. Lyrics flying like bullets. Both men claimed victory. But the streets heard something else. The war had escalated. The feud reached beyond Jamaica. Global figures weighed in. Even Usain Bolt publicly declared support for the Gaza camp. Dancehall had crossed into culture, and culture into power. By late 2009, the conflict had become a national security concern. Violence linked to the rivalry forced political intervention. In December 2009, Jamaica's Prime Minister, Bruce Golding, called an emergency summit. Kartel and Mavado were summoned to Jamaica House.
So me and the DJ start over thing, and that me tell you, we not really imposing on an artist we can see will take place. Because Vybz Kartel, teacher and Mavado, the artist team, come together and say unity. Everybody else can see that. And just follow that example there. I will see, you're going to just know, say, at the wrong way you go, because you're going to spot out. Because we as a unity, so if you are going around the thing, it's like, easy to spot out, you know what I mean? And the people them, you are going to be the main focus of the people them. And you are going to look like the ringleader.
They were forced to publicly declare, "We are not enemies." They participated in a paint-out day, removing Gaza and Gully graffiti from school walls. And plans were announced for a peace concert meant to unite the factions. A moment that stunned the nation. After 2009, the intense street violence subsided. But the identities remained. Gaza and Gully, still embedded in dancehall culture. The Gaza-Gully war proved one thing. Dancehall was no longer just sound. It was influence, it was allegiance, it was power. And Vybz Kartel stood at the center of it all. By now, Vybz Kartel wasn't just an artist. He was a movement. And movements scare people. 2008, dancehall wasn't just a genre, it was an empire. At the center of it sat Vybz Kartel, a man who realized sooner than anyone else that influence is the ultimate currency. But he didn't just want the airwaves, he wanted the lifestyle. Enter Corey Todd, a businessman with a vision to match Kartel's ambition. Together, they didn't just sign an endorsement deal. They built a blueprint for the modern artist entrepreneur. The flagship was Street Vybz Rum. It wasn't just a drink, it was an extension of the party Kartel was hosting in every lyric. It debuted as a partnership that blurred the lines between music and manufacturing. For 3 years, it reigned supreme in the dance halls. But in 2011, the music stopped. Legal battles and personal disputes between Kartel and Todd saw production grind to a halt. For over a decade, the brand sat in limbo, a relic of a bygone era. If Street Vybz was the fuel for the party, the next product was the protection for the after-party. Daggering condoms. Launched in the 2008 to 2009 window, this was peak Kartel provocation. Daggering, a dance style known for its high-impact, borderline athletic intensity, was a flashpoint of controversy in Jamaica. The government was banning it on TV. Kartel was putting it on a box of latex. It was a masterclass in rough play marketing. He took a cultural lightning rod and turned it into a retail commodity. Though they only stayed on the shelves for a short window, they solidified the Gaza brand as one that wasn't afraid to lean into the rebel aesthetic. 2008 also saw the launch of Street Vybz Thursday between Kartel and Todd. It wasn't just a party, it was a weekly pilgrimage. A single artist owned a night, a venue, and the liquid flowing over the bar. It was pure vibes. This was the laboratory where Kartel tested his latest songs. If a song received a pull-up at Street Vybz Thursday, it was guaranteed to be a national hit by Friday morning. As global ears tuned in, Vybz Kartel crossed borders. What began in Portmore was now echoing worldwide. Songs like Romping Shop and Clark's reshaped international dancehall. They didn't just travel, they influenced. Global pop. Hip-hop. By 2009, Romping Shop debuted on the Billboard charts. In 2010, Clark's became an anthem, boosting global sales and turning a street shoe into a cultural symbol. Then came Summertime, the soundtrack of dominance. But controversy followed. Lyrics challenged taboos. Broadcast bans followed. Debates erupted about morality, freedom of expression, and Jamaican identity itself. Kartel's response was not silence. It was more music. Following the 2009 truce with Movado and Prime Minister Bruce Golding, Kartel reached his peak. This was the world boss era. He wasn't just an artist anymore. He was a brand. Kartel launched Cake Soap. A line of shoes followed. In 2011, he starred in his own reality dating show, Teacher's Pet.
Yo, 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 different type of girl from all over the world. Want to be the teacher's pet, anything teacher want, teacher get. Girl, insert her girl. Black girl, white girl, brown girl. From the first word, second word, third word. Want be the teacher's pet, whiny girl, them love me some. I don't know why them a mad over me. I don't know. Woman a Jamaica, woman a Caribbean, woman in America, where I don't go. One house, one star, 20 girl. Add it up, that equal to one. 20 kids, 20 young, 20 love. But each only have one heart. Who will get my heart? You have to watch it from the start. And realest girl can rock my world until that you was part. And then who will get my heart? You have to watch it.
Cameras were rolling when everything stopped. This period also brought a dramatic transformation. Kartel's skin bleaching sparked intense public debate. He attributed the change to Cake Soap. For some, it was rebellion. For others, a deeply uncomfortable mirror held up to society. Behind the scenes, tensions grew. Kartel began distancing himself from the Portmore empire, as internal conflicts led some members to leave. The empire was shifting. On September the 29th, 2011, Vybz Kartel was arrested at a hotel in New Kingston. Initially detained for marijuana possession, the situation escalated quickly. Kartel was charged in connection with two separate murder cases. Barrington Bossied Burton, a promoter, shot in July 2011. And Clive Lizard Williams, an associate who allegedly went missing in August 2011. After being summoned to Kartel's house over two missing illegal firearms. In July 2013, Kartel was found not guilty in the Barrington Burton case due to lack of evidence. But he remained in custody. The second case, the Lizard Williams trial, would become historic. Lasting 65 days, it became the longest trial in Jamaican history. The prosecution's case was largely circumstantial, relying heavily on BlackBerry voice notes and text messages. Messages alleging that Lizard had been chopped into mincemeat and would never be found. On March 13, 2014, Vybz Kartel and three co-accused, including Sean Storm, were found guilty of the murder of Clive Williams. On April 3, 2014, Kartel was sentenced to life in prison with eligibility for parole after 35 years. For many artists, this would have been the end. For Kartel, it wasn't. Despite being behind bars, his influence never waned. Music kept coming. Recorded, released, consumed. The voice remained. The world boss era ended in silence, but not in disappearance. because Vybz Kartel was no longer just an artist. He was a symbol, a debate, a legacy still unfolding. Here's the part that doesn't make sense. From a prison cell, Vybz Kartel became bigger than ever. In 2014, the unthinkable became official. Vybz Kartel, the most dominant voice dancehall had produced in a generation, was sentenced to life imprisonment for murder. For many, it was the end of the story. Justice served. A chapter closed. But history had other plans. From inside the walls of Tower Street Adult Correctional Facility, the music kept coming. Albums, singles, anthems that refused to fade. While the world debated guilt and innocence, Kartel debated melodies, metaphors, and mixing. In 2016 alone, he released more than 50 songs. 50. That same year, King of the Dancehall climbed charts worldwide, an album recorded almost entirely behind bars. The message was unmistakable. Incarceration could restrict the body, but not the brand, not the influence, not the culture. Against every industry rule, Vybz Kartel became the most dominant figure in dancehall without stepping on a stage. He followed with more projects of Dons and Divas, and a relentless stream of singles that dominated Jamaican airwaves. A paradox formed. The most incarcerated artist in dancehall history was also its most free-flowing voice. But prison took its toll. During his incarceration, Kartel was diagnosed with Graves' disease, a serious autoimmune disorder affecting the thyroid. His eyes began to protrude. His health visibly declined. His legal team described prison conditions as inhumane. Calls for urgent surgery echoed through the courts. Behind the music, the body was failing. In April 2020, the Jamaican Court of Appeal upheld Kartel's conviction, offering only a slight reduction in parole eligibility. 32 years and 6 months. For most men, that would be the end. For Kartel, it was simply another verse. But quietly, the foundation of the case was beginning to crack. March 2024. In a landmark decision, the UK Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, Jamaica's final court of appeal, quashed Vybz Kartel's murder conviction. The reason? Juror misconduct. Evidence revealed that during the original trial, one juror had attempted to bribe others, offering $500,000 Jamaican dollars to influence the verdict. The trial, the court ruled, was compromised. July 31, 2024. The Jamaican Court of Appeal delivered its final ruling. No retrial. The judges cited 3 reasons: the excessive time elapsed since the alleged crime, the enormous cost of a new trial, and Kartel's declining health. Justice, they said, would no longer be served by prolonging the case. That evening, after 13 years behind bars, Vybz Kartel walked free.
We're not pass you. We're not pass you. just back on the side right now. Hey, just up. What was it like being inside? Hey, just up.
No slow rebuild, no quiet return. Within 24 hours of his release, Kartel dropped a 12-track mixtape. First week out. The title said everything. By late 2024, the impossible happened again. Kartel's album Party With Me received a nomination for the 2025 Grammy Award, Best Reggae Album. A man once written off, now standing at the highest table of global music recognition. December 31st, 2024. New Year's Eve. 13 years after his last live performance, Vybz Kartel returned to the stage. Freedom Street. A homecoming concert at the National Stadium in Kingston. Tens of thousands sang every word. Not as nostalgia, but as confirmation.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Boys and girls. Who is the new king of dancehall? When I say fight, you say Kartel. Fight! Fight!
Love him or loathe him, Vybz Kartel's story refuses simplicity. It is a story of talent and controversy, power and consequence, punishment and persistence. Because in Jamaica, music is never just music. It is identity. It is resistance. It is survival. And for better or worse, the world boss never stopped ruling. Today, Vybz Kartel exists in rare territory. Artist, icon, controversy, legend, a symbol of dancehall's power to reflect society's contradictions, not hide from them. His story is not clean, it is not simple. It carries brilliance and backlash, triumph and consequence, love and division. But it is unmistakably Jamaican. Because in Jamaica, music doesn't sit safely on the sidelines. It enters politics, morality, identity. And Kartel never stood outside the storm. He stood at its center. Freedom brought celebration, but also recovery. Kartel's primary focus now is healing, treating Graves' disease, an illness that reshaped his appearance and tested his endurance during incarceration. Medical teams from Jamaica, Cuba, and St. Vincent have all played a role. And beyond the Caribbean, plans for further specialized treatment continue. The battle didn't end with release. It simply changed form. April 2025. For the first time in over a decade, Vybz Kartel returned to the United States. Reggae Fest, Barclays Center, Brooklyn. 2 sold-out shows. $8.4 million grossed. A record. The highest-grossing arena concert by a solo Jamaican dancehall artist in US history. The message was undeniable. The world had not moved on. It had been waiting. By late 2025, the road reopened. Paris, Toronto, a global tour, not as a comeback, but as continuation. Dancehall, once again, standing center stage in the global conversation. Away from the spotlight, another reunion mattered most. Time reclaimed with his sons, Lyrical Vybz and Lyrical Addy. Artists in their own right, carrying the lineage forward. And beside him throughout it all, his fiancée, Sidem Ozturk. Steady, unwavering, present through the darkest chapters. For the first time in years, life slowed. So what remains? After the trials, the bars, the headlines, the noise? A body of work that shaped generations. A culture forever altered. A conversation that refuses to end. Because as long as the music plays, the debate continues. Vybz Kartel is not a fairy tale. He is not a cautionary footnote. He is a mirror, reflecting Jamaica, its genius, its tensions, its truth. And whether history crowns him or critiques him, one fact remains unshaken. Dancehall will never sound the same again. Some voices fade, others become history,